Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome to Conservative Cool Talk Radio. Sorry there for the little confusion. We were having some broadcasting issues. Hope that everybody's still listening to the show this evening. We're going to talk about a few different issues this evening. We're going to talk about the health care debate. We're also going to talk about the banks and the meeting they had yesterday, and we're also going to talk about the grade that the president gave himself. So I'm going to start off the conversation with the health care debate, and I already see we have a caller calling in, so I'll be getting to you real soon here. Let me take that call, and we'll start this evening off with a caller. Caller, can you hear me? Hey, 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 you have to step away. You have to step away from the radio when you're calling in, caller.
And Isabel, because otherwise you're saying, don't spill on the topic, be careful. I thought, that's going to take all the away from them. And that way they can
Hey, caller?
put you with the corpse here, and then I'm going to get it framed. Like the white framing here, I'm going to get it framed on the wall.
Okay, but we'll let that caller call back in. All right. Well, tonight, folks, again, I apologize for the early on with the confusion here. We're still working with some new technical equipment here. I'd like to thank you for listening in to the show this evening. I'm going to take this call again. Looks like they're calling back here. Hey, caller? All right. Hey, caller.
Come on, Grandpa Ed, how strong.
Hi, you calling with the Conservative Cool Radio. This is Wayne Bradley.
That's incredible. That's
all right.
hard work.
Call back. All right. Well, again, this evening, I appreciate everybody that's listening this evening for the show. We're going to talk about a few things, the health care debate, whether it's a bad bill at this point. Obviously, I think most of you would agree that it is. We're going to talk about the banks and the meeting that they had yesterday, and we're going to also talk about the grade that the president gave himself. Let me go ahead and check on some tweets here. I also want to just thank everybody that's listening and following on. So here we are. We got people listening in. I appreciate everybody that's calling in. The first thing we're going to really talk about, I think, is the actual health care debate, and at this point, what's going on with it. They have tried to pass a bill since, I want to say, July or August that the president kept promising would get done. And really what's come down to, the bill has gotten bigger. More things have been added to it that I'm sure that they weren't counting on in the beginning. And it's throwing people for a loop. A lot of these congressmen and senators, now they want to keep their jobs, so they don't want to just pass anything. And I think that's why it's taking so long to pass it. At this point, a lot of the things that the president said he wanted as far as within the health care bill, as far as the public option and these things are actually not going to be in the bill. And so you have to wonder at this point, is he just trying to get anything passed so he can claim a victory in this health care reform issue? Again, a lot of things that they said they wanted to do, it doesn't look like they're going to accomplish. It's more like advanced Medicare. People who are 55 now will be able to get it, which is, again, something a lot of people are opposed to because it's just an extra something we cannot afford as a country right now, and I guess that's what a lot of people are concerned about. The biggest issue I have is that it doesn't seem like even the Democrats want to pass this bill at this point. About 60 to 70% of the American people have made it clear that this is not a good bill. 80% of the people in America are happy with their health care plan, so it only makes sense that a lot of people will be against this bill, but yet and still they're pushing, trying to get it forward. I feel like at this point it's become more of a political issue, as usually things do in D.C. It becomes something that, again, he just wants to put a notch on the belt or actually something on the resume saying that he actually pass this healthcare debate when a lot of the issues that are affecting healthcare, as far as costs, whether it be the reckless lawsuits that are incurred in the healthcare industry, they're not looking at those issues, and it just seems like it'd be a better way to do this healthcare bill. Maybe again, just the way we do everything else in America, open up borders and let people compete everywhere, so we can get the best prices for healthcare for everybody. So I just think that at this point that he's pushing for something that's more of a political issue, and he's not trying to get the everything that he promised in the beginning is not getting passed. So what do you have now? You just have another big spending bill, and it's not clear cut on exactly who this is helping at this point, except when you're saying letting younger people who are younger get Medicare benefits. So I'm going to take this call because it looks like they've called back a few times here. Let's go for the caller. Caller, you on the air? Caller, can you hear me? All right, we're going to go to our second caller here. We got somebody out. Hey, caller, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Who am I speaking with this evening?
You're speaking with Brendel2221 from California. How's it going?
All right, man. How you doing?
I'm great. Glad to be on the line with you.
I appreciate you calling in. It looked like from our tweets earlier, we might not agree on everything, but that's what this whole country is about, is actually getting things out and talking about it and talking about it good.
I think that is the way it should be done. I think a lot of disagreements that we have in the fundamental policies all speak to a skew of morals. Because I think a majority of Americans believe that poor people should be able to receive some sort of coverage.
Exactly.
It's a method of how. Okay.
That's where everybody's debating about right now, is how do we do it, right?
Exactly. And that's how do we do it. And see, my only notion with the healthcare debate is this, okay? Is that it essentially has boiled down to a country where we have big pharmaceuticals going against big insurance. Okay?
Right.
And somewhere along the line, what's getting lost are the people that need coverages the most. We're talking about the cancer patients, the elderly, the poor, and the sick. And now with what's going on with the whole bill being watered down so much, we see a function of this bill not being able to help anyone anymore. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
And that is my biggest issue with the healthcare reform right now, is because the people that need it the most should be able to receive the insurance. And lost in the rhetoric of big government and all this other stuff are the millions of people who are being put off of their insurance plans and policies for pre-existing conditions, all the people who are not being covered for their cancer treatments, and all the children that need it the most, and the elderly that cannot afford even simple Medicare.
Right. So
what
do you think would be the best solution? I mean, that's the whole thing. What do you think would be the sensible solution?
The best solution in the world would be to form a separate private entity, sort of like a Red Cross, for instance, or say like the Federal Reserve, for instance. Some place that controls a certain policy and aspect is not directly attached to the government. I think the Federal Reserve would be a prime example as a private entity that helps control, government policy. And I believe they should have something that where poor people can, be access to it. For instance, let me give you my final example. If there were no post office, FedEx and UPS would be able to charge whatever they wanted to, for the transference of mail. But because there is a post office, that kind of keeps rates sort of in control. And I believe that we need some entity, whether it be government controlled or not, that's debatable. But we do need a separate entity that can control that, because I think the best ideas come outside of government, not within it.
Right. I mean, well, this is the thing, and I agree with you. The thing we have to look at, and that's where, like you said, whether it be a government entity or not, is a situation where look at the Postal Service. They're not exactly profitable. Look at all the government. Look at all the government programs we have created so far, and that's why I would say we need to do something where we keep the government away from the actual healthcare system like that, because everything they do is always over budget. It's never under budget. It's never done what they said it was going to do. It's something else. It's always a change in the program, and that's why I just, if they're going to tell us it's $1 trillion, then we ought to know from how they've done everything else, it's probably $2 trillion. You know what I mean? Because
I agree.
I mean, look at the Social Security. As a young person, in your 30s, we won't have Social Security available to us.
No. Anyone under the age of 50 right now will not have Social Security. That's a given.
So,
but my issue. So
I mean, it's that kind of bureaucracy, that kind of running things
the nature of the bureaucracy is this, and it's scary. And I need to go ahead and listen to the rest of your show. But that level of bureaucracy is scary because of the fact that it's been perpetuated over the course of American history. And we can't change that overnight. We can't change 90 years of government overnight in the way it corresponds. It's still corrupted. However,
he's got some work to do.
We need to get rid of a lot of the waste in Medicare, because a lot of the fraud and things that happen in there.
That's where you tackle it. That's exactly where you tackle it at.
Yes, and you really got to get rid of the fraud and the waste in the Medicare and insurance industry, because all that stuff is completely sideways. But my point is that if we get a company, and this company operates as a business, totally outside in the same way the Federal Reserve works, we will get the best and the brightest ideas. America may not agree with it, but we will get the best policy. I really don't believe politicians should be debating the healthcare system, but I do believe poor people do need access to something. And I think most reasonable people in America would agree to that. We just all have to work together to get stuff done. That's why sometimes the politicians aren't usually the best people to get that done. But I appreciate you calling in. Hey, just one more thing for me before you leave. The grade. What would you give the president so far? He gave himself a B+. What would you give him? Well, my thing is that because I voted for President Obama for one reason only. That's the education initiative, okay? And as far as that is concerned, I have to give him a C, because the kids don't have money to go to college anymore.
Right.
And there's breakdown in systems, and not only that, but the bureaucracies of let's say LA Unified, for instance, okay? Within the next 2 years, they're laying off 5,000 people, 1,500 teachers, okay? So the schools are already at, average 30 to a classroom, but when we go to high school, we're talking about 50, 60 to a classroom with no chairs. And so my problem is that we cannot break down the state bureaucracy to a point to where these kids can have textbooks, teachers, and go to school, and have college loans to go to even community college, because of the quagmire that's going between D.C. and the state and then the local. See, by the time it trickles to the kids in the inner city, they still have no textbooks. So my only issue is that, because I really am upset about the whole education situation, because our kids are getting dumber. And if we want to ever compete with the generations coming, our kids need to learn, and they can't learn in an overcrowded classroom with no textbooks and no teachers.
I went to Detroit Public High School, so I totally understand, my friend. So I totally understand that situation. I'm a product of the Detroit Public school system through high school, so I definitely can understand what you're dealing with out there. So, I appreciate you giving me a call in, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. And like I said, we do this every week, so give me a call again next week.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And I'll be your liberal, I guess, moderate friend.
I appreciate it. I'll take them all. I'll take it.
All right. Take care.
Thanks a lot. God bless you.
All right.
All right, I got a couple more calls here. I got Common Sense Canuck, and I got somebody from Detroit. Let me take this call here. Be patient with me. I'm working the boards and commentating at the same time. Hey, caller. Caller,
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello,
can you hear me?
Yep.
I sure can.
I can
How
hear
you doing?
I'm good.
Great.
I'm good.
And what's your name, sir?
My name is George.
George, how you doing this evening?
Good, good. I just wanted to pipe in, not taking up too much time because I'm pretty sure everything has been said pretty much. But on the healthcare issue, just let me add another perspective here because I'm calling in from Canada. To be exact, however, I'm calling from Western Canada, from Alberta. And so we're definitely more American than the people out east, in the eastern part of Canada. And I like to say just a few words of caution when it comes to health care and public options and single-payer systems and things like that. Because here in Canada, we've had the single-payer, universal, public, socialized, whatever you'd like to call it, healthcare system for over 40 years. And you see, in those days when it was started, everybody was really fully on board with that. As far as I know from the history books, because I wasn't around yet myself, everybody was fully on board with that. But you see, in those days, Canada's population was maybe barely 20 million people in total. And even today, we just have something like 33 million. Now, you look at the United States and you have 300 million people, give or take, and my feeling is that the higher the population number, the less likely a public option or socialized or universal healthcare system is really going to work, because we've seen it now. Because first everything worked fine, but then problems started as population grew. The problems started. Now we have waiting lists and wait times in the healthcare system. People that need cancer, even chemotherapy for that matter, are now told to wait for months, possibly even a year. By that time, any treatment could be too late because, for example, the cancer has spread too far, and even chemo cannot do anything anymore to contain it. We have people that go blind because they need crucial eye surgery, but then they're told, I'm sorry, but the earliest we can schedule you is 8 months from now or something. And
I sure hope all the American people are listening to that. George, I appreciate you calling in, because I think a lot of people think and point to Canada's system as the model system. Keep going. I'm sorry to interrupt me. I'm making sure people are you guys listening to what this man is saying about Canada's system and what the things you will have to go through? You said 6 months to chemotherapy?
It depends on the case, because it can be 6 months, it can be 8 months, it can be even longer. And I'll just give you two more examples of how people can be hurt, even fatally hurt, as a result of the waiting lists that we have created now in our public universal healthcare system. I remember, for example, I once had a neighbor, and she went to her family doctor, and he said that she should have a breast exam just to make sure she doesn't have any lumps or whatever. And so then she wanted to get a referral for the breast exam, for the mammogram, and she was told that the earliest that she could be scheduled for that was 9 months from that date. If she really has a problem, 9 months later, it could have spread again to disastrous proportions. And then also we have people here that need a new hip or a new knee. They are in tremendous pain. So they have to wait, in some of those cases, up to 1.5 years to 2 years of excruciating pain before they get a new hip or new knee. In the meantime, of course, they're pumped full of heavy-duty painkillers, and I'm not talking about the regular Advil or Tylenol, but those are heavy-duty painkillers, and anybody knows that when you take heavy-duty painkillers like that for 1.5 years, because you cannot move without being in pain until you get that new knee or new hip, those drugs, they cause tremendous damage to kidney, to other internal organs. Irreparable harm could be caused to internal organs as a result of these painkillers. So then maybe finally the person gets the new hip or new knee, but in the meantime, of course, the kidney both kidneys might have been shot to hell, you know. And then, of course, the final note I'd like to make is that we always hear, there's always the talk about like so and so many millions of Americans not being insured or having access to health care. First of all, I believe that sometimes I hear the number 40 million Americans, sometimes it's even 80 million Americans. First of all, I believe that all these numbers are totally incorrect because it also depends on who and what you factor in, like illegal immigrants, for example, and such, or people that simply choose not to make a claim. But for example, in terms of relative numbers, even if we assume that the number 40 million Americans without access to health care or insurance is correct, then we are, in Canada, pretty much in the same boat in relative percentages. Because you have 300 million people, 40 million Americans are uninsured or have no access. We are 30 or 33 million people, but around 4 to 5 million Canadians don't have access to the supposedly universal health care because we have run out of family doctors and other medical professionals. So you go to a family doctor, and the sign in the window says right there, "I'm sorry, but my patient list is closed, so I'm not taking any new patient," which is why people don't have access, because in order to get into the system, even for an exam, x-ray, whatever it is, or you need a referral for surgery, you need to go to your primary physician first, but if you can't find one, you can't get into the system. So in relative percentages, we are in the same boat if we assume that the number 40 million Americans without health care insurance is correct, because we have 4 to 5 million Canadians out of 33 who don't have access either, you know. And then, of course, people go to the emergency rooms because that's their last resort. They clog it up. We had a reporter here for the local paper who had to take his wife earlier this year to the emergency room, and he blogged from the emergency room, and he spent 72 hours waiting in there before somebody even took down his wife's name on a chart. And last year we had this one guy in Canada in an emergency room, both legs amputated, so he was in a wheelchair. He wheeled himself into the emergency room. No one paid attention to him. He sat there for like 36 hours until finally they realized he had already died in the meantime, waiting for medical care. So
yeah, and that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Wow.
So
I hope people are listening
to that. This is just a warning. Yeah.
I appreciate the warning.
Yeah. And now just a quick word on maybe a possible solution. I think that the Canadian model, as it stands right now, should never serve as a role model or pattern for any reform to the American healthcare system, because your population is even this much bigger. You would be in dire straits with waiting lists and wait times and people dying waiting to get procedures and surgeries done, even more so than in Canada, because there is quite a difference between 300 million potential patients and 33 million. But I think what needs to be done in both our countries is that we really need to find the middle ground between our two systems. In other words, you need to have more safeguards to make sure that those who are legitimately barred from accessing healthcare right now gain access to healthcare, whereas here in Canada we need to introduce some of the private sector entrepreneurial spirit back into our healthcare system, because we actually spend a little bit less per head in terms of healthcare expenses than you do in the States. But I think it's a matter of logistics actually breaking down. That's what I think. And the logistics should come from the private sector, and if you want to introduce that into a public option, then it might work. It's just my guess. We have yet to see something like that in real life to see whether it works or not, but that would be my educated guess.
All right. Well, George, I appreciate it. I promise you that we're going to take this clip and probably play it a lot of different places, because people really do need to hear what goes on.
Oh, exactly.
A lot of people think in Canada that this is the way we need to go, and that, you know, they think that's the system that we need to be following. So I really appreciate your call. And again, we got to just keep spreading the message. And people calling from all over the world, giving their opinions, and I really appreciate it.
No problem. Take care. And good luck.
Thanks a lot, George. Thank you.
Okay,
God bless
bye.
you. Bye-bye. Wow. Okay, now let's take this next call. We got a caller in Detroit.
Brad.
Caller, how you doing? Hey.
Brad.
Hey, how you doing? Yes.
How you
doing?
Do you hear me? You hear me?
Yes, I'm Yes, I do. I'm broadcasting live right now.
Okay, well, this is your dad.
I know who it is. How you doing, Dad?
Okay, all right. Listen, I didn't catch the first part of the show, and so I was trying to find out, is the issue about rating the president?
That was one of the issues we talked about. One of the issues, he gave himself a grade of a B+. And we're asking people what grade would you give the president at this point?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to make sure that as you deal with what George was telling you, there are two sides to every story. You could probably find some Canadians who are very happy with their system, so weigh and value all of that. As far as the president goes, were you concerned that the issue of health care was not adequately being addressed by the president?
I'm not going to say it's not being addressed. What I don't think he's doing is I don't think they're being upfront with all the different costs and what's involved with it, and the way that they're projecting it. The numbers just don't seem to add up. To be quite honest. At this point, he's changed a lot of the things he said he was going to do with the health care bill. So my idea is at this point is he's just trying to get any kind of victory, just pass any kind of bill at this point, because he's taking the public option off the table, and in terms of what he was a single payer system, which I have no problem with. I didn't want him to do that anyway. But my point is, at this point, he's just trying to pass any bill, or is his intention still to really cut into helping out the healthcare system, because a lot of it is involved in waste and lawsuits. I'm sure you know that.
It's not the healthcare system per se. The healthcare system is probably one of the better systems in the world. The issue is the form of payment, which I heard you address with the gentleman from California, and that's the true issue. It's not so much that we don't have an excellent healthcare delivery system, it's who's going to pay for it. And so the real concern that I have is that at least this president has done more to get the issue forward. I agree with you that he may be changing some of his positions, but since Congress has gone through 4 or 5 presidents and not addressed health care, perhaps this is the first step in getting something better for all of the people. And so he might have to concede on 2 or 3 different levels in an effort to get something done versus getting nothing done. Would you agree with that?
It's possible. I could say that. Again, at this point, I just want to see the things that he initially promised to do. Is he going to carry through on that? Or is he just, it's a 2,200-page bill, and even his own Democrats have been very critical of the way he's been handling it. So it just makes me wonder.
Because he put it in their lap.
But again,
he put it in their lap for them to bring forth the legislation. He couldn't do the legislation as the executive. That has to be in the hands of the legislature or Congress. And so consequently, just getting them at this point, keep in mind that several presidents have touched on the issue, but none of them have gotten this far. So at least he's got them thinking and acting, whether it is exactly the way he would like it or exactly the way that a number of executives and patients and American citizens would like it. It's at least a step in the right direction. Would you agree?
I can agree with that. What would you like to see done? Being in that profession, what would you like to see done that would make the system run a lot smoother? What would be your suggestion?
I think that it's moving in the right direction in terms of at least saying all citizens of America should have some access to health care, and that there has to be a mechanism that allows for that. I don't necessarily agree with the fact that health care is a right. It's very questionable as as a right, but it should be a need that's addressed by our government. And
hey, Dad,
there has to be a starting place.
Turn your other computer down. You're getting feedback on both of them.
Turn the computer down?
Step away from the computer because I can hear you repeating twice.
Oh, okay. All right. So all I'm saying to you is that I think that this is the first step in the right direction. I don't necessarily say that all the answers are on the table right now, but at least there's the first step. To give him a rating as to whether or not this is successful, the fact that he's got it this far is certainly a reasonable cause to give him a grade of B, if not better.
I don't agree with you, big guy.
Well, I wouldn't expect you to, but at first, let's take a look at the fact that it's on the table, and it has not been on the table by any other president, and that goes way, way back into our history. So that's a giant step for this government to take. The bigger issue is, handling the cost, and nobody has come up with the right formula for that yet. But I think that at least we're working in some kind of direction. I don't think in my lifetime the true answers to it will come out. I don't know that you guys are right about whether Social Security will be there for you. I think that there will be some adjustments in the system that will allow for that to happen. Only time will tell. The fact that there are not as many people in the workplace contributing to it probably has more to do with its downfall than anything else, but we'll see what happens as the economy improves and whether or not the next level of workforce can impact that. The one thing I would also say to you is I don't know how many callers call in, but certainly there should be some time limits with regard to our ability to occupy your show, because you've only talked to 3 or 4 people and the show is already, into 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So I just wanted to get through to you and let you know that I support what you're doing, and I think it's exciting to be able to get other people to call in from all over the country and the world to address the issues. It shows incentive on your part. It shows incentive on their part, and I'm just glad to be able to congratulate you.
Well, thanks, Dad. I appreciate you calling in.
Okay, man. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. All right, that was the big guy calling in. So I appreciate him calling in. As you can see, I'm willing to, like I said, me and my dad will definitely disagree on things from time to time, but anybody is welcome to call in and we can talk about the issues. I'm going to go ahead and step out here and give the president a grade myself. He gave himself a B+, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to safely call it a C-. C- would be my grade for him. I'm not going to call it a D or F or anything like that. He is trying. He has a hard job. There is no doubt about that. You have to give him credit for trying to tackle some of these issues. I just don't like the way he's tackling them by throwing more government money on just everything. When we could sit back and think about it and really figure out a better way to tackle the issues. I do, like I said, I have to give him credit, like my father said, for actually trying to do something different. And like the first caller called in from California saying that we have to do something for the people that cannot afford insurance. That's definitely something in America that we could fix. I just don't think that right now the proper method is to have the government so hands-on into that industry. We're systematically just taking over all the private industries in America, with automotive, banking, healthcare. I mean, there won't be really too much left that the government doesn't have their hands totally regulated and involved in. So I guess that's my biggest issue with that is the choice. This is a country where, again, that's not a right. for health care. It's not anywhere in the Constitution. But again, we have to be realistic as humans, and you have to have compassion for those who can't afford it and can't, make do with what they have. But I just don't agree that sometimes that the government has to have such a hands-on approach and be so intimately involved in that day-to-day process. So that's where I stand with it. Like I said, I would give them a C-. That's where I'd stand. As far as the health care debate goes, again, it seems as to me at this point, he's changing so much stuff around that it doesn't necessarily sound like the exact same thing that he proposed. And so I don't want it to just be a bill that he just throws out there and, just to pass a bill. And that's kind of like where we stand right now as far as the health care issue, because a lot of people don't realize how that affects them. I mean, if you have a job and you have health care benefits, it's probably not in your best interest to want this bill to pass, because a lot of things are going to change from your end. And so it's debatable on how we let these things happen. So give me a call. You got 347-996-3175. I want to hear from you on the call-in. All right, so I want to hear what grades you would have for the president. He gave himself a B+. I'm giving him a C-. Again, I understand he's not totally failing here. As my wife rolls her eyes, she's a Barack Obama lover, so she rolled her eyes at me as she's walking by here in my office/studio. But give me a call. I want to hear what's going on here. 347-996-3175. They said, come on, Vanessa, give me a call in here. He's not trying to get red right. I love that from the doom since I'm a little liberal here. Can't help it. I do have some liberal family members and people's loved ones, so they try their best to influence me, and I don't go for it. Like I said, even my dad called in. I'm going to disagree with the guy. I love him, but some things we don't agree on. Give me a call, Vanessa. I want to hear from you. You said you might get in trouble tonight with some of the comments you had. So give me a call. I want to hear from you. Give me the grades you have for the president. 347-996-3175. Thought we were going to do a Ustream broadcast tonight also with the show, but for some reason that didn't go up. Again, we're always a work in progress here with these technical issues. Give me a call. 347-996-3175. The last issue that we're going into the last 20 minutes here, the last issue we didn't talk about was the meeting with the banks yesterday. And I thought it was interesting. I watched a good portion of the 60 Minutes interview, and the thing I noticed was he said he didn't get into this to help out the fat cats on Wall Street. And I'm thinking, yes, you did. You probably did. That was probably half the reason you became president. Those are your biggest supporters. So it's only natural you're going to help look out for them. And that, my friends, if you're listening, is the only thing in D.C. that you have a bipartisan agreement on, helping out Wall Street. Whether you're a Republican or Democrat, both sides of that aisle are definitely willing to help out Wall Street. So I'm not going to blame that all on the president. McCain, Obama, and Bush were all there when they first signed over the first bit of the bailout and TARP money that went to these guys to bail out Wall Street. So, but at this point, he's proposing a third round of bailout. So, again, he talked real tough on 60 Minutes, and that's to give the impression that he's still with us. He feels our pain. But these guys, the fat cats as he called them, they were there at the White House on Monday, and I guess he put pressure on here. Let me go ahead and take this call here. Let me see what we got here.
Tonight.
Caller, we're on.
Hello.
Vanessa, is that you?
Yes, that is me.
How you doing this evening?
I'm good. You so don't want to hear from me tonight.
I want to hear from you. I told you earlier on we were on Twitter. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from everybody because, like I said, it's good to get both sides of the fence. You heard a guy from Canada. give his explanation of the healthcare system. I want to hear what you have to say. Give me your grade. Let's start with your grade. I think that would be the most. Let's start with that. What's your grade, Vanessa?
The best grade I could give him would be an F minus. That would be
F minus.
That would really be stretching it right about now. I mean, this guy, you know, I mean, you read my tweet, you know that I started off thinking he was the Antichrist, but he's like too much of a failure. I mean, the Antichrist has to at least get a peace plan or something going. This guy can't even get this health stuff straightened out. So, yeah, I'm pretty wound up tonight.
I hear you. It sounds like you are. I mean, you said an F minus. That's...
Our friend from Canada, I mean, you know, I actually could have dual citizenship because my family's British, and I could fly to London and get taken care of quicker and easier than staying here. So I got to give the Dems a little bit of credit that somebody sees something that's going wrong here. But the thing is, there has to be an easier way to fix it, and yet you can't tell people what kind of health insurance they have to buy. That's ridiculous.
Exactly.
So he's just
I think
a
the
tyrant.
best way to do that. I think the best way to do that would be to open up the lines and let everyone compete against everybody. And just like how we had with the cell phone companies, at some point you're going to have some companies that are going to offer lower basic plans, and then you're going to have people that offer the more expensive comprehensive plans, and people can afford buy what they can afford, and you give people those kind of options. And there are people, understandably, that just don't have anything. And what I think you ought to do in those situations is you support those areas, hospitals in Detroit and Baltimore, and in the places, and maybe ones in rural areas where you can identify that there's a need, but you can't just go and just give everyone a monthly premium on a healthcare cost. And again, it's a lot of people that won't use it, and it'll be misused, and abused, and I just think that we have to figure out a better way to go about that.
I mean, the best thing that can happen for me right now is that I go to jail because I don't have health insurance, so I can at least get 3 hots and a cot and get my health insurance. I mean, I get that Zoom whitening tooth stuff done and all kinds of stuff while I was sitting in prison because Obama doesn't want me to not be able to buy insurance from State Farm or something. So, yeah, I'm pretty wound up tonight.
Yeah,
he got a little wound
tonight.
up on his 60 Minutes interview. I mean, he was just, this guy can't take any criticism. It's worse than Butch.
He was definitely feeling himself on 60 Minutes. I was quite amazed that he gave himself a B+. I was thinking, even just for modesty's sake, he could have just gave a B or maybe a C+, but he said a B+, meaning, and he said if he gets his health care bill signed, he goes for the A. He signed him up with an A for after that. So,
well, he should either be absolutely modest, or he should just be the tyrant that he is and say, yes, I deserve an A+ because I'm Barack Obama. And then people go, well, yeah, he's just being Obama. We'll see him on TV every time Glenn Beck tries to come on and have a show. There's Obama giving a speech about SpongeBob or something. So
I just want him to call a red phone just one day, don't you? Don't you want him to just call a red phone one day for Glenn? Just one time. I want somebody to call that phone. Just one time.
I think Beck would have a coronary if somebody did.
Oh my God! Just one time. I just want him to make that call. But I appreciate you calling in, Vanessa. I knew you were gonna be on fire tonight. F-.
Well, I told you I don't know what kind of scores they give in Indonesian schools. I mean, he went to an Indonesian school. It might be actually a Z-. I don't know. I'm just going by what we have here. So.
Woo, you're on fire this evening. You're on fire. Well, I appreciate you calling in. These are all recorded so they can download them to their iPods and everything else. So let your friends know that you were on last night, and I appreciate you calling in.
All righty. You have a good one.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
God bless.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, I got my next caller here. Let's see who we got here. Caller, you're on. Hello. Caller, you're on the air. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yep, you got to step away from your computer. You're getting a delay, so step away from the computer or turn it down so you can we can talk here. How you doing this evening? All right, let's go to the next caller here. Caller, you're on the air. Can you hear me, caller? All right, well, we had... Hello, can you hear me?
Are you talking to me?
Caller. I'm talking to you. You're on the line.
Well, I didn't push 1 to talk. I was just going to sneak in and listen.
No, you're on the phone now. I've got you on the phone. Who am I speaking with?
Oh, this is Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany. Where are you calling from, Tiffany?
I'm calling from Washington State.
All right, Washington State. Now, you know, all you got to do to listen online is click onto that link and press play on the Blog Talk Radio. Well, if you call in, you're on the phone. You're talking to the host.
I thought I could just listen. I apologize. Well, I don't have my computer on me. I just saved the number on my phone. I said I keep missing these shows, and so I thought I'll just save the number on my phone and listen in. What are we talking about?
All right, well, I'll tell you what we're talking about here. We're talking about the biggest thing we've had people calling in on was Barack Obama. He gave himself a grade of a B+ the other night. We're talking about the health care debate, of course, and we're also talking about the grade, his grade, and what would you give him for a grade? We'll start off with that. That's the easy one. What would you give him for a grade if you had to grade the president?
I would say I would give him a failing grade.
Failing grade.
Breaking it down, I would give him a failing grade.
That's 2 F's in a row here. What do you dislike most about this administration so far, and what do you think is the problem?
Well, first of all, I think that he, I believe that he ran as he got closer to Election Day. I mean, he moved further and further to the right, to the point where he was almost running as a, moderate conservative. I mean, he certainly tried to capture the moderate, vote, late in the game and pulled the wool over a lot of people's eyes. He's become, it didn't take him very long, to wipe that smile off of his face and turn into this very stern, arrogant, narcissistic. I don't even enjoy watching. Well, first of all, I've seen him 300 times on television since he's been elected, so that's neither here nor there. But he has moved so far to the left, and he has an agenda. The entire administration has an agenda. It's been something I believe that's been in the works for many years, and they are just absolutely hell-bent to take us, down with them in their agenda. I mean, they feel like what they're doing is right, but it's much bigger than just the United States. I mean, there's, I think that's why he was early on talking about bringing in, being able to talk to these other, nations and talk, to Iran and so forth, because, he, in the long run, he sees himself as a world leader, I believe.
Yes,
his
he's not necessarily the president of the United States, but a world leader, and he might be very well after he's done with president, whether it be 4 or 8 years, he could be on to the UN, because that's kind of like the figure he's taking on. That's very possible if he doesn't go to Hollywood, one of the two.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I've never seen. What was it? Just the other day, I saw something that he was an ad. I don't know what it was. And his symbol, this Obama symbol, it's not even the presidential seal, is everywhere. And it from a distance, I mean, it looks like a Pepsi symbol. It just is silly. And, everything that they're doing at this point is, my kids have a lot of pets. I've got lots of dogs, cats, everything. But we have this bearded dragon. His name is Spike. Mm-hmm. And when we put crickets, in his cage, he goes after him pretty quick. But after a few days, he's tired of chasing them, so he waits for them to come to him. Mm-hmm. And he sits there just very stoic, not moving. And when a cricket comes up to him, he just lifts up his right hand ever so gently up in the air, and he just starts rotating his wrist. And, just, in other words, he's going, look over here, look over here, look over here, don't see what I'm doing with my tongue, just look over here. And he captures their attention with his with his hand while he, pounces on them, and eats them. And that's what this administration.
And are you comparing our president to that? Are you comparing the president to that?
I actually am. Well, it's either that or, I feel like, don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining, and that's what they do every single day. They have this mirrored response to everything. If there's something going on, and I can't even give you a good example right now because I haven't slept in 2 days. I've been dealing with China and London and all kinds of stuff, so I've been up. But if there's anything that happens that might reflect onto him, he immediately comes out and turns it around, whatever the subject is, points the finger, and basically places the same blame that's either being put on him or about to be put on him on, has the name calling, is constantly looking in the rearview mirror. I have never heard anyone, blame the previous administration more. He's a year down the line. We're tired of hearing it. What got left over from the previous administration. I can't believe that. I don't believe that he honestly can look himself in the mirror and say, I'm doing what is absolutely best for our country. I can sleep at night because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am doing what I was, elected to do. And first and foremost, upholding the Constitution. He already wants to tear that apart.
That's definitely. I got another call coming in here, but that's definitely something we definitely want to talk about is upholding the Constitution. We'll probably talk about that the next show because I think a lot of our politicians have forgot about that. But I appreciate you calling in. If you ever want to listen just online without calling in, just go to Blog Talk Radio and look up Conservative is Cool, or just go to my website, conservativescool.com. And all the shows, all the posted shows, you'll be able to hear us tonight. From your call in, you'll be able to listen to that within the hour. It'll be on there. So I really appreciate you calling in, and be sure to listen to me again and call in every time you get a chance.
Sure thing. Okay. Thanks for taking the call.
Thank you. Got one more call here before we go off the air. Let me take this call. Caller. One last call here. Looks like you got somebody out in Cali here. Caller, you on the air?
Yes, I'm calling back so that you guys can stop trashing my president, okay? I want an F- and tear down the Constitution and take us over to Italy and make us all Muslim terrorists. Okay, come on, can we just stop it, okay? Oh my goodness, I tried.
Oh man, I appreciate you. You couldn't take it anymore, man. You said you had to call back.
I couldn't take it anymore, okay? F-. I'm like, come on, take a civics lesson, why don't you? Okay?
Yeah, I gave him C-, man. I was doing good, man. I gave him a C-.
It's like F-, and come on. I know the guy isn't perfect. I know he hasn't walked on water yet, but there are some people who he never please.
He did promise to walk on water. That's what they told me.
There are some people that President Obama will never please. Okay?
I agree.
Therefore, they did not vote for him, and therefore they should not have an opinion on what he's doing. Because for 8 years, we basically
that's not the American way.
Well, that's not the American way. I understand that. But
people had a field day with George Bush, and the media got to tear him apart for like 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
I believe every president is subject to some sort of criticism. Do not get me wrong. Okay. But S minus, come on. What were you expecting him to do? I mean, no, really. I really want people to call back on the phone and tell me what they were expecting him to do. What was
you know what we're going to start doing? We're going to start doing a live chat room after the show where everybody can really do that, because I think that's my only issue. Is like no one ever has a solution as to what he's supposed to do. Okay, right. Is he supposed to continue our world global policy and deal with globally as we were doing before and keep America isolated? No. Was he supposed to work with the UN and become one with them? Because everywhere Americans went during the Bush administration, we were hated. Right. And if you didn't travel all over the countries, you did not see that. Even in Dubai, where I was 2 years ago, we were hated over there in the Middle East. It is amazing. Okay. Now, as far as Wall Street, you are dead on. Dead on with that. Even as a liberal, I agree, because I am also a trader. And let me tell you one more thing I need to do some research on, okay? Credit derivative swaps. Okay? Yes,
these
I'm familiar with that.
Down the stock market. Huh?
I'm familiar with that.
And they are still allowed to be traded, and no one's doing anything about it on either side of the aisle. Okay? And believe it or not, the only person who says that we got to stop this is the person who's most hated on Capitol Hill, and that's Barney Frank. And everybody hates him, whether it be Democrats and Republicans, but it is the thing that he's trying to get rid of, and that's why they deify this guy right now.
All right.
Because all that Wall Street money hates Barney Frank. Okay?
Wow, man. Well, I appreciate you calling. I got 2 minutes left here, man. I'm about to get off.
All right. Have a good day. Close the show. I apologize.
Oh, no problem. Okay. We're gonna do it again, maybe even on Thursday evening. But I'm gonna give everybody. I got 2 minutes left, so I'm gonna give everybody my last analysis. And I appreciate you giving me a call, though, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, I got 1 minute left here, and I just want to say thanks to everybody for calling out this evening. It's good to get a good mix of opinions. As you saw, we had probably half and half, people that are satisfied and people that are giving them Fs. I could tell you on Twitter that the grading scale will probably be a lot lower as far as 50-50, but he has a tough job, and you understand that as a Christian, you also have to remember to pray for him. He's got a tough job. You got to pray for the president, regardless of how you feel about him personally or how he's done so far. You still need to pray for him because he definitely needs some direction. He needs to take some direction to his heart from somebody other than those advisors. So let's pray for him and that he's moving in the right direction. Again, my grade would be based off the fact that he's trying to do some things, but he's definitely not doing it and going in the right direction that I would be happy with. So I'm comfortable with my C minus, close to a D, grading scale. And I appreciate everybody that's been listening this evening. Again, I'm gonna definitely, you can upload this radio cast to your iPods, and we can tweet it and refer it to other people, because I think it's definitely important that people hear the phone call from the gentleman from Canada, hearing the side of the actual debate from someone who lives there. So again, I thank you for listening. If you get a chance, visit conservativeiscool.com. And I appreciate everybody's listening this evening. God bless you, and good night. I'll be letting you know when the next show is soon. Thank you.